Good morning and afternoon, and welcome to the June edition of Dad X Discussions, brought to you by the National At-Home Dad Network. My name's Matt Strain, and I'm glad to have everybody aboard today. Today, I'm going to be having a conversation with Kyle Denny. Kyle is one of our board members here at the National At-Home Dad Network. He has served on our Home DadCon planning committee for the past 2 years, and more importantly, Kyle helped organize the first ever Dad's Run 5K fundraising race at Home DadCon in Milwaukee last year. This is an idea that had been being bounced around among the dads for a really, really long time. And Kyle finally got the wherewithal and took the control of it and made it happen. He is also the leader of our virtual book club for dads, which has now read well over 40 books at this point. And if I'm not mistaken, is also the group leader for the City Dads in Denver, I think. I'm not sure exactly. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring Kyle on. And we're going to talk to everybody about the Dad's Run 5K, the Fatherhood Overcoming Adversity Fund, and the work that we're doing with that. So without further ado, here's Kyle.
Hi.
All right, you might want to move your mug a little bit.
Oh.
You can tell we're all professionals here. It's So did I get that right? You lead the City Dads group for Denver?
Yes, Denver Dads. I took over leadership in 2017, shortly after I became a stay-at-home dad.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been, I lead dad's night outs, park play dates. Now that my kids are in school full-time, I don't do as many park days and weekday events, but we continue with dad night outs and try to do some family stuff on the weekends.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I know that we had a triangle dad. Well, we still have a triangle dads group here in the North Carolina Triangle. And I was really active in that until like my kids began going to school full time. And I'm sure they're still doing like morning play dates at the park, but it's kind of hard to show up without a kid, you know?
It does make it a bit awkward.
Yeah, just a little bit awkward. Now, one of the things that I want to talk about is you are a serious runner. I mean, like I started doing the triathlon thing a little over 2.5 years ago, and I'm in a run training program right now. I'm determined to learn to run. At this point, I can't run more than about maybe 3/4 of a mile to a mile without having to stop and walk for a break. But it's a whole lot more than it used to be. But you, on the other hand, when I say you do serious runs, like what's the longest run race-wise that you've done?
The longest race I ran so far is 2021. I did the Boonville Backroads 100K.
Okay,
So in terms of miles, that's 62 miles.
Yeah, so we're talking more than 2 marathons in one run.
Yes.
Okay, I'm not going to lie, that's kind of ridiculous. So let's talk a little bit about the Fathers Overcoming Adversity Fund, which the Dad's Run 5K is specifically a fundraiser to help raise funds for that fund. But it's a relatively new thing that we've started doing with the National At-Home Dad Network. Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about it? Because I know that you chair the committee that handles it.
Mm-hmm. So the Fathers Overcoming Adversity Fund started just a little over a year ago in response to a former member or a fellow member James Lopez, who had a traumatic brain injury. It ended up being a brain tumor. And so when the board at the time, which I wasn't a part of yet, reached out and was able to provide some funds to his family, I wanted to continue that process because I myself had a brain tumor when I was a child, and so I know how important that family support is, and so I wanted to continue that tradition. And the first thing when we were forming that committee was, how are we going to get funds for it? And so I just pieced together two passions and brought running into it, and created this fundraiser. So just recently, the FOA gave out a little money to help a fellow dad who had run into some problems with a storm that basically, or sorry, not a storm, a fire that basically hurt his house. So it was really cool that the National At Home Dad Network is now, able to assist members in need.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, as somebody who was a part of that board that made the initial decision to help out James, James was a part of our community. James has been a part of the dad community. He's one of the OG dad bloggers that was out there for a long time. He's got an amazing brand called Fatherhood is Lit. I highly recommend that all of you go out and check it out. He's produced some amazing content over the years. It was a hard thing for us to see our fellow dad running into those tough times, and more importantly, watching his family struggle. Because as at-home dads, I mean, while some of us do bring in some income to our house where, we've got side gigs, or, maybe even a lot of the dads are working from home. For a lot of our families, they depend on us being home to take care of the kids. Today is a prime example. I mean, my wife's going to be at work all day long until 6 o'clock, and it's summertime. So I have a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old in the house currently. They're not making too much noise, which tells me that they have like some sort of screen in front of them, but they'll manage. But again, if not for me being here, there would be not only the logistics of figuring out who's going to take care of the kids while she's at work, but also the financial aspect of that. Because, as we all know, childcare isn't inexpensive. I mean, that's one of the reasons why a lot of us ended up in this role as at-home dads.
Yeah, I would also like to add that the committee is newly formed, and so we are always looking for additional members. Currently, there's just a handful on the committee. So if anyone is interested in serving on the Fathers Overcoming Adversity Committee, please reach out to me.
Or you can reach out to Dale, who's our volunteer coordinator, at dalevee@athomedad.org. His email address is down at the bottom. Shoot him an email, let him know that you're interested in volunteering to help out in the org. You can even mention that you would love to be a part of the Fathers Overcoming Adversity committee to help go through those kind of things. This is a 100% volunteer created, operated, and run organization. None of us are getting paid. We're all doing this. We're all doing this out of the goodness of our hearts and to give back to the community, because for a lot of us, this community has done a whole lot for the rest of us. Now, let's talk a little bit about Dad's Run. Now,
Okay.
At the bottom, I have the link set up, which talks about, which enables you to sign up to actually do the 5K, whether you're going to do it in person with us in St. Louis this year, at Home DadCon, or there's also a virtual option where people don't necessarily have to be in St. Louis, but they can still do it virtually and still get their finisher medal. And I believe there's going to be a t-shirt option available for the folks who want a t-shirt, because as we all know, half the reason that we all do races is for the cool shirt and the medal. Has nothing to do with fitness. It has to do with this weird new t-shirt collection we all have.
Yeah.
So, No,
Go
I was
ahead.
just going to say, last year was the first time that we actually successfully pulled off a organized 5K. So let's talk a little bit about how it went in Milwaukee.
Yeah. I mean, we were able to pull that off largely because we had a great team in Milwaukee on the planning committee. Greg Clapp did a lot in finding the route. But yeah, I think we had 23 signed up total, and we had 16 participating in person. The others were virtual, and we ran around the from the hotel up to a park, and then basically V-lined it back and ended in the park next to the hotel. And there was we had my one caveat, I had to have a finish line tape.
Right.
So because I'm never at the front of the packs when I race, so I never get that tape. So that was pretty cool to break through. But overall, it was a huge success. I mean, everyone finished. We ran into a few hiccups being our first year, and like some of us kind of got off course and meandered around. But you know what? We all ended at the
That,
finish line. So.
that's half of doing a group endurance activity is people always have to get lost.
Oh, and I would like to add that this race isn't super competitive. If you're at all, whatever, you abstain from competition, or you're worried about like finishing last, like this is a fun run. I mean, generally there was like two groups, maybe three last year in Milwaukee, and so the faster runners kind of stayed in the first, and we just kind of pinged up. And I mean, some people even ran, like speeded up to catch up to a group and ran with them for a while and then fell back. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll be the first one to point it out. I am definitely not a fast runner. My personal record on a 5K is just under 40 minutes. And I pulled that off less than a month ago. I managed to get like 39 minutes and 20 something seconds and was thrilled because I've been aiming for sub 40 for a little over 2.5 years now. My first one that I did took me over an hour, but I finished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would add that you do a swim and a bike ride before you do your run. So
Not always, not always. I've actually done a couple of them that were straight, that really were like just straight up runs. Not many. I did a fundraising 5K for for a local organization called TROSA. That I'm a big fan of. They actually do drug and alcohol addiction treatment here in the Triangle and have an incredibly high success rate. It's a really intense program, but as a nonprofit, one of their big fundraisers is they do a 5K turkey trot every year. And last year marked the second time that I've done it. So that's 2 straight foot races that I've done that did not involve the swimming and the biking. Which is a little different. Now, let's see if we can do. Nope, that's not going to work. That is not what I am looking for. No. Let's figure this out. But regardless, this year we're doing it in St. Louis. And if I'm not mistaken, there's been a little bit more advanced planning this year than there was last year.
Yes, for sure. I think last year we put together the 5K in 5 months or less, around that. And I mean, I think we began planning this 5K about probably the day after the convention. So we definitely had a head start. we immediately, start scouting areas. We have a few local dads down there that did some work for us. And then we took the board convention, or not the board convention, the board retreat was at St. Louis. So we were able to walk some areas, and we really wanted to do it on the Arch grounds because it's beautiful. It's a national park. So we walked that, and it seemed very doable. So that is where we will run. We're going to start across the street. And then, it's going to be a great route. It has no street crossings, unlike Milwaukee. So that will be, I think, very beneficial. And then the other thing we're debuting this year is we have a 1 mile, what we're calling the 1 mile Arch March.
All right. Now, before we go any further, I think I'm sharing the screen that actually has our route for the 5K run on the Arch grounds.
That looks like it, yes.
Yes. All right. So the starting point that I see is we're starting literally right by the hotel, aren't we?
Yeah. It's yeah. So there won't be any confusion. We'll have a nice in that park. We're gonna have a nice start line, finish line, and we'll have a table set up so you can fill your water bottles, and it will be a good setup.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. Now, you had also mentioned that there was a 1 mile Arch March, you're calling it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's thanks to Nick Hargis. He came up with that name. And we just decided that some members had expressed last year, interest in participating, but they, whatever, they either were going through injury or they just weren't up for running 3.1 miles. And, and some people walk, but they don't run. And walking 3.1 miles can take a long time. So we wanted to provide another option for our community, and 1 mile seemed like a great idea. You still get to experience the race. You get to walk through the park, and then, you'll get back to the refreshments before the rest of us.
And if I'm not mistaken, this is the map for that one, where you're pretty much doing a lot of the same path. You're just kind of doing an outside loop, but you are still getting to go directly beneath the Gateway Arch, which is kind of awesome.
Yeah. I mean, when we were there earlier this year, it's amazing. The views are going to be so great. The river there, there's a lot of boats and stuff in there to look at. So I feel like even if you're not a runner, you're one of those people who are like, I don't enjoy running, like you, Matt.
I do enjoy running, but I still do it.
You're gonna find a lot of scenery to distract you, and hopefully make this a more enjoyable experience.
Yeah, and again, I can't speak for other folks, but one thing that I have figured out very quickly is that the environment where I'm running or where I'm biking or where I'm swimming makes a huge difference in my mood. Swimming a mile going back and forth in a pool is really, really boring. Swimming a mile out in a lake or in a river speaks to me better. So I enjoy that nature moment. Running on a treadmill to me is absolute torture. I don't understand how anybody can do that. But I'm willing to go outside and run regardless of how terrible the weather is. Yesterday I was running in 94-degree heat, plus humidity. So, it was rough.
Yeah.
It was rough. Now, if somebody wanted to do the virtual run, how does that work? I'm familiar because I did a couple of virtual runs or virtual challenges. I won't call them runs, but virtual challenge type things during COVID. But it's kind of a new concept to a lot of people. So why don't you go ahead and walk people through it?
Yeah. So the virtual run, there you sign up on the same link that is posted, and you just fill in your name and mailing address. Okay. And the reason for that is because we still mail you the medal. I mean, you paid for it and you earned it. So we're gonna send that to you out. And then you go out the weekend of Home Dad Con. So that's the 18th to 20th, that weekend. Friday,
Yeah.
Saturday, Sunday. You just go out and you run your 3.1 miles, or if you sign up for the 1 mile arch march, you do that. And you do it at your convenience in your area. So your favorite trails, your favorite, park. And then we will be creating, it has not been finished yet, but we'll be creating possibly a Word document that will be shareable, and everyone can post their results.
Okay.
And we'll be sharing that as well.
Okay, and I'm assuming, we're doing this on an honor system. I mean, it's not like we're going to require people to like mail in the report from their Fitbit or whatever so that they can prove they did it. I mean, we're all grown-ups here. You can police yourself, right?
That is true. There is no policing. It is a nonprofit race, so we are raising money, and we appreciate anyone who signs up, even if you are just signing up to donate that money. That's perfectly okay.
So Thomas Clancy came on and asked a really important question. He was asking about timing mats.
Mhm.
No, please.
There's not going to be timing mats. We are not to the point yet. We're super official. We are still a community based driven event. Like Matt said, we're all volunteers. So we're still pretty homegrown. You just have your Garmin on your wrist, or whatever, Coros,
Ideally, I mean, I'm sure we're going to have people at the finish line, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I mean, there will be somebody with some sort of timekeeping device, the stopwatch app on their phone or something, who can write down names and times. I mean, it's not going to be exact down to the 100th of a second, but one of the things that we ran into this year, and again, I was part of the planning committee for this as well. One of the things that we ran into is we really did look at bringing in like a race production company.
We did.
People who actually put on these things, who bring the things like timing mats and the giant inflatable finish line and all of the other stuff. And the problem that we ran into is that at that point, you're not really raising money for the Fathers Overcoming Adversity Fund anymore. Almost everything that we get in entry fee would be going to pay that race production company.
It definitely seemed to be more of the race would be paying for itself rather than being this fundraiser event.
Right. So at this point, we're opting to keep this as an internal thing. Now, that doesn't mean that down the road that might not change. I would love to see this thing take off and start getting sponsors from, again, we move the convention every year. It would be great if we could get like a local running store, or God forbid, a national running store like Fleet Feet or somebody to put their name behind it. And, if they're willing to donate some money toward putting the whole race together, that might enable us to move into that more professional level with, timing mats and the little chips and all the rest of it. But for right now, it's going to be the old school stopwatch and, honor system.
Yeah. Nope. That's definitely in the planning committee for the race. We've had a lot of talks about possibilities, but it wasn't able to come together for this year.
Now, one of the things that is different this year is I know last year in Milwaukee, the race happened on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah, it was.
So it was the Thursday before the convention began that the race happened in the morning. And then after that, the guys did like the service project and then went on to convention eve. One of the issues that we ran into was that there were a lot of guys who wanted to do the race in person, but their planes didn't land until after it was already done on Thursday.
Yeah, we heard from a number of dads, and you know, we want to try to make this easy enough for everyone to participate. So when the option came to move it to Saturday morning, that seemed perfect because everyone's gonna already have been there for the convention, and yeah, I mean, and I think our thoughts as well were that if we are going to move this at all and hope to grow our numbers down the road to possibly become more of a official event where we have a race company, a Saturday race is going to be a requirement for that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to get a lot of the local community because, again, we have no problem with anybody that wants to joining in on this race. You don't have to be a member of the National At Home Dad Network. Honestly,
Yep.
you don't even have to be a dad. If you believe in the mission, if you believe in the idea of this Fathers Overcoming Adversity Fund and the National At Home Dad Network having these funds available so that in the event that there's a dad or a family out there that really does have the need, that we have the funds available that we can help them out in whatever way we can.
Yeah. You don't have to be a dad to do the virtual option right now because that's one reason we definitely I think made the virtual more apparent this year is to promote that. For example, my wife has signed up for the virtual option, and
Nice. Nice.
yeah.
Mine will not, but that's okay. I know last year I ended up doing the virtual option, even though I was there, but that's because on that particular Thursday morning, there was another activity that I had planned out, and that took me out of the mix all Thursday morning. So if I'm not mistaken, I think I ran mine on Wednesday morning, which is where I found that the brick area right before the finish line that I managed to trip and hurt myself.
Yes, and you gave us a heads up about that, so that was very nice.
Yeah, because those bricks were not kind. They were not. But this year looks to be a lot more interesting. Like I said, that whole period where we're going to get to do this out in front of the arch is a big plus, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. The area is fantastic, and if you've never been there, you're really going to enjoy it. It's an amazing how they built that. It's just an amazing site. And I also wanted to say that for dads that are coming to the convention that aren't runners and aren't going to be signed up, I mean, we need crowd support. I mean, everyone loves a crowd, so please come out that morning, Saturday morning, and like I said, we'll have a little table and finish line area. So we appreciate the support.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I know I had mentioned it earlier, but for anybody who's joining us later in the broadcast, we're working on putting a T-shirt together, a finisher shirt for everybody that would be available as an optional add-on. I know that there's a lot of people out there. Races can get expensive. That way, not everybody needs that extra T-shirt in their house. I'm sure my wife would like me to pass on it, but I won't. But that would be an optional add-on. Right now, we're just trying to find the right way to do it, whether we work with a print-on-demand T-shirt shop or whether we just take the orders ahead of time and ship T-shirts out with the medals. Either way, we're going to make it happen. Again, this is all happening on, I believe that would be October the 19th, correct? Is going to be that Saturday morning, but the whole weekend would be available for anybody who wants to do it, in the virtual sense. And, it's a really, really great cause. It really, really is, at least, to me.
No.
Now, one of the things that I really do like about this, though, is that an ongoing discussion that I find happens time and time again, especially among the at-home dads, is there's always constantly talk of how do you find time to train or to work out or honestly just to stay healthy. We're all chasing kids. I mean, we've all got our families. We've got kids to worry about. We've got wives to worry about. Honestly, we have houses to worry about. I mean, at some point in the next 2 days, I've got to mow 1/3 of an acre worth of lawn before we leave town, or my neighbors are going to get really upset when it turns into a jungle while we're gone. And all of this stuff really does take up time. And I know that you take your training pretty seriously. I follow you on Garmin and Strava and all the fun places where you post up your runs. What is your secret for being able to squeeze all of this running into your day-to-day life and still keep up with all the other stuff that's on your palette?
Yeah. I mean, my first tip is get up early. I don't laugh, Matt. It's true. I am definitely like a 4:30, 5 o'clock wake up guy, and I'm typically running by 5:30. Quick cup of coffee, out the door. Most of the time, I'm back before the kids are up, but not always. And then the other big key is communication with your spouse. With my wife, I mean, I'm lucky that, I'm lucky she's a runner because she understands training and the time. And so it's a trade-off. Sometimes it'd be easier if she didn't run because then there'd only be one person training. But it definitely has its pluses and minuses. So,
have you had any success in getting your kids involved?
Yeah, I just this past weekend, my son, who is 6 years old, Calvin, ran his first 5K.
Nice.
Yeah, it technically was his second 5K, but his first finish.
Okay.
He tried one at 4 years old, and he made it like 2 miles, and then this was actually the same race, and so the course runs, and at like 2 miles you can see where you started, and it's literally right up this hill. So he just belled at that point. He's like, I'm done, I'm going to get my water and cotton candy. And this year he seemed really excited.
Before he made it 2 miles.
I think my kids, they get the running bug from me and my wife. My daughter ran her first 5K at 3 or 4, and granted, I had brought the stroller on that one, and she probably ran about 2 out of the 3 miles. But yeah, she's now 9, and she's completed at least 6 or 7 of them.
Nice.
She has declared, though, that running is mom and dad's thing, not hers. So she's kind of done.
Fair. See, and mine are both, my kids are 10 and 7. So I'm 1 year ahead of you with both kids.
Okay.
My 7-year-old just last week, now that I've actually started doing a run training program, has turned around and asked me point blank if he can come run with me. And
That's
unfortunately, awesome. The last time that I was going out running yesterday was my scheduled long run, which again, by your standards, is not a long run, but for me, it was a very long run. It was a 5-minute workup or warm up, and then 20 minutes running for one phase, and then another 10 minutes immediately after that was quote unquote optional. And then a 5-minute cool down. But basically it was a 30-minute period where you were supposed to be running. And honestly, I worried about him being able to keep up, keep the pace going for the full 30 minutes. And I really wanted to push myself and not take the 20-minute option. So tomorrow morning, I'm planning on taking him out running with me, because that one is a 15-minute run with an optional 5. And so, that one, I feel a little bit more comfy bringing him out running.
One tip that I've used is, like, I will, text my wife. If my kids really want to join me on a part of it, I'll text them. I'll be like, I'm going to be at the home, in like 5 minutes, put them on the porch, and then they'll join me for the last mile of my run.
Nice. Okay. That's a good thought. That's a really good thought, because my daughter, on the other hand, she has caught the triathlon bug. She took on Easter Sunday this past year, after years of fighting riding bikes. For whatever reason, she suddenly rediscovered her bike with training wheels and decided that she wanted to take her training wheels off, and got it on her very first try, and got super excited, and has now decided that next year she wants to do a triathlon. So
that's exciting.
Luckily, in the state of North Carolina, there are 2 different kids triathlons, which they do a much shorter version of a triathlon that's a little bit more kid friendly. I think it works out to being like a 100-yard or 200-yard swim, followed by like a 1-mile bike ride, and then like a half-a-mile run. But it's enough for them to get their toe in the water and get hooked. But she specifically said that she wants to make sure that she does the one that also has an adult race that happens at the same weekend, so that I can do my race, which the adult one starts at 7, and it's a sprint. So I should be done long before her starting time of 9 a.m. And I'll do mine and she'll do hers, and we'll see who it is that gets the best time or the best ranking in our age group. And I've already told her that I'm pretty sure she's going to smoke me on that one. Now, Dale Vanviller asked a really important question. Is there a cutoff date for signups to the 5K?
The cutoff is, I believe, September 8th. You need to be registered before September 8th. And the reason for that is because we need time to send in the shipping medal and have them back.
Right. To send in the order for the medals. Now, if somebody really wants to do it, you can do it. You just won't get a medal out of it.
Yes. We obviously, we would take signups, but yes, there would be no medal.
Yeah. And that's a tough one, but again, it is a good cause, so don't let that keep you. Now, one of the questions that Thomas Clancy asked was, did we need a permit to run on the Arch grounds?
So because of our group size, we're going to be okay. It's when you have a group size of like 40 that you run into some issues and need the permit. But I mean, when it's 25 and under, it's just a group of friends out for a jog. So they're fine with it.
At this point, it's small enough that we don't have to worry about the permitting. As far as the arch authorities, for lack of a better term, are concerned, we're just a run club that's out for a run.
Yeah, because we checked in. Well, we did try with a a larger organizer. So we got some information from them, and then another committee member had reached out to a few local run groups, and yeah, they do races in the park often, and as long as it's not a giant race, no one's gonna bother you.
It also helps that, when you're doing this relatively early in the morning, it's not like, the park is overrun with tourists at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're good.
For anybody who's ever been to a park at 8 o'clock in the morning, you know that primarily it's filled with weird people who are running. Or biking.
Yep. So yeah, we're good on that, and I mean, the more the merrier. I'm sure if we get to the point that we get too big, that we will definitely either run in different groups, spread it out. But as of right now,
or if we get big enough to that point, hopefully that would put us in a position where it wouldn't be prohibitive to actually get the permits that we need.
On another note, I did want to mention that we are working right now on getting some swag for our participants. We aren't a competitive race yet, so there's not going to be any first place, second place, third place trophies. But there definitely are going to be a few surprises for participants, and so to win, all you have to do is register and do the race. So it doesn't matter if you're first or last.
Well, again, for anybody who's interested, we are going to be in St. Louis for Home Dad Con 2024. It is October 17th through the 19th. Please check out our website at athomedad.org. There you'll find all the information about the organization, about all the different things that we do, and also links for becoming a member of the organization, buying a ticket to come to the convention. You don't have to go to the convention to be a member, but you do have to be a member to attend the convention. And, those membership dues are what enable us to do all of the things that we are able to do as an organization, whether it's the Fathers Overcoming Adversity Fund or the mental health peer support groups or book clubs or all of the other things that we are able to do. A lot of the nuts and bolts costs of doing those things come from those membership dues. So I recommend everybody check out the website. Keep in mind that, Home Dad Con is coming up. You can follow the National At Home Dad Network on Instagram or X, Twitter, whatever it's called this week, which is at Home Dad Net. Facebook, you can find us at Home Dad Net. For those who don't do the Facebook for social media, we also have a Discord server. We make sure that guys know about that because we know that there are some people who avoid different social media platforms. And believe me, I get it. It can be rough out there. But
and we do have a running channel on the Discord.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yeah. But most importantly, everybody, go to the website that you see on your screen right there, athomedad.org/dads. Run this house 5K. And let's turn around and get a bunch of people signed up. Let's do a bunch of virtual runners. Let's do a whole bunch of in-person runners. And let's pack up the Fathers Overcoming Adversity Fund. Because I would really love it if, we had the ability to help out everybody who needed it instead of it having to be a hard choice of where a limited amount of funds have to go.
Yeah.
And on that note, do you have anything else to add, Kyle?
I dropped the swag information, and no, I just want to encourage everyone to sign up. It's a blast, and running. If you're not a runner yet, I really hope this encourages you to get out there, because it's changed my life. And lastly, I recently posted in the group a couch to 5K plan. So if you are not a runner and you're looking for a training plan, couch to 5K is a plan that exists already. And it's I believe it's a 9-week program that literally starts with less than a minute of running. So it's fantastic. It's how I began my running journey, and hopefully it helps you.
I won't lie. I probably should have done that. Instead, I didn't, and eventually found out that Garmin, for anybody who owns a Garmin watch, you may or may not be aware of it, but the Garmin watches offer free run and cycling coaching.
Mm-hmm.
If you go into the Garmin Connect app and you click on the little coaching button, you can literally sign up for it. I'm in the middle of a 15-week run training program that is based on the idea of a 5K. I'm hoping to move well above and beyond that, but there's plenty of resources out there, and I have to agree with Kyle on this one. When I did my first triathlon in 2021, I weighed in at around 210 pounds. And as of this morning, I am just under 175. So, there's a lot to be said for being outside sweating, and I won't lie, cursing my existence with every step. No, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. But when it gets hot, it's rough. On behalf of the National At Home Dad Network, I want to thank everybody that took the time to join us today. Kyle, thank you for taking the time to speak with us. Yeah. I really do appreciate it. Next month, I'm still trying to work out the exact date and time, but I have a guest lined up to talk about a topic that I don't have to worry about yet. Because again, my kids are 10 and 7, but it is definitely something that is on my mind for the future. But I reached out, and I'm bringing in a dad who just recently got finished negotiating the whole college admissions process. Because again, I'm an old dad. The last time I dealt with college admissions was 1989. It was a long time ago, okay? And I'm fairly certain that it's a very different world now. And I wanted to bring somebody in who's been through it, to give us a report from the trenches, and hopefully can use some of the lessons that they learned to pass along to us, so that down the road, when it comes time for us to look at helping our kids out for whatever they're going to do with their futures, whether that is military or trade school, or, going to college, or honestly just taking a year off and doing whatever they want to do. But we all need to be there to guide our parents. As much as we all joke about the fact that, I got to deal with this until they're 18, and then I'm going to boot them out the door. We all know it never stops. You're a dad now. You're going to be a dad until the day that you aren't with us anymore. So we're all going to be there for our kids when that time comes. So hopefully this will be a little bit of a primer for those of us that need it, and a lifeline for those that are stuck in the middle of it, or panicking about it. So as soon as I have information about the exact day and time, we'll get that released on all of our social media channels so that everybody can plan on joining us. In the meantime, thank you guys so much. Look forward to seeing you guys running with us in St. Louis, or doing the virtual run. But most importantly, get out there and be active. Get out there and run. It's good for you. Like most things, it's good for you. It may not be the most fun thing you can do, but it is good for you. All right, guys. Y'all have a good day.
Cool. Bye.